Well, you're not going to win them all. The what ifs, everybody has those.
To tell you the truth, I didn't know we'd go that far. You know, it was just one game at a time.
The crowds would come to watch our practices.
We went so much further than we were expected to go.
Just a Cinderella season. We knew what the talent we had, we knew what we was capable of doing if we stuck together, and that's what we did.
It was just sort of magical that year, that everything just seemed perfect.
In 1971, those guys were terrible. I was on the JV with most of the guys that played on the 72 team.
It was kind of a rough year, 2-7-1.
It wasn't a very good year. In fact, it was the losingest season we've had in Lewisville.
We were picked like next to last in the district.
The group of coaches that had us when I was in the 8th grade, 9th grade, JV, for some reason they abandoned us and they went to McKinney.
And McKinney was one of our big rivals at the time. It hurt us. At the same time, we got revenge that 72 year when we played them and beat them.
They abandoned us because they didn't think we could win. And that's what they told the kids. I don't know how you could tell kids that, but they left.
We had a total new coaching staff come in 71. So I think that's always a little bit of not a setback, you might say, but it kind of might hold you down a little bit, getting used to a new system, new coaches, obviously coaches getting used to the players and so forth.
It was a really unique experience having been with that coaching staff. They didn't really know us when they came in. We didn't have the benefit of going through spring together.
They had great attitudes. They were, I think, in their own mind determined that, hey, we're better than this and we can do some things much better than what we've done. And then, of course, I think they also bought in to what we as coaches were selling and, how to get it done, what they needed to do, how they needed to act on and off the field. And we had a great off-season program where kids really worked hard and we demanded a great deal out of them.
Practices were brutal and really long and hard. It was kind of like boot camp or training for SEALs. You just, they wanted to try to make you tough by making the practices so tough. Down here, the humidity and the temperature in August is pretty good.
In the summertime, in August, 2 days, and how do you do it?
In 1971, we had a Labor Day workout. It was 4 hours long. And I do remember that we had one water break, 2 hours into it, and it might have been a 10-ounce red plastic cup. Not the throwaway kind that they have now. These were kind that we kept, but that's the only water that we had. That coaching staff, they got smarter, and he realized that was not the way to do it. And the objective was to keep the workout short.
A lot of the coaches thought the key to winning was outworking everybody else. We're going to practice longer, we're going to meet longer, we're going to do all this kind of stuff. Coach Shipman had on paper, we're going to work out an hour and a half on Monday. That was unheard of. We're going to work out an hour and a half on Tuesday, which was really unheard of because usually Tuesday's your long physical day, trying to get everything in, make sure you got the game plan the way you want and everything.
Wednesday was 61 minutes. Thursday was 28 minutes. And this was Coach Shipman's brainchild. That type of workout was unheard of in the early 70s.
We thought we was going to get out of shape because they weren't as hard as they were in the 71 season when we had marathon workouts. I go, I said, Coach, we can't do this. We can't do that. He said, yeah, we can. And that really shaped my career right there. I mean, my philosophy for my career from then on for the next 35 years or so.
It's like what he always told me, if what you're doing ain't working, do something else.
He decided that it was going to take a drastic measure for us to have a chance.
And if you couldn't get it done, and now research says that he was correct. I mean, he was ahead of the curve back then. If you can't get it done in an hour and a half, you probably are wasting your time.
After the fall two-a-days, we practiced mainly in shorts and shoulder pads. We didn't do a lot of, we didn't beat each other up all season.
I mean, they changed up where we platooned, so most places they put the best players in. They played both ways a lot. We didn't do that.
Going into that senior year, Bill Shipman, along with David Byzantine and Don Harvey, Tommy Shields, Gary Petrus, Charles Bodie, Bill Branham, 3 of them coached one side of the ball, 3 of them coached the other side of the ball. And we realized that in the spring. And then as we got to the end of the spring, Coach Shipman let us know he was going to do the same thing with the kids. That coaches weren't going to coach both sides, kids were not going to play both sides.
Instead of going both ways, you get more tired. And so he kept everybody fresh and mainly played one's position.
The D practiced over here. The offense practiced over here. We quit banging on each other. We had so many good athletes. They two platoon. It was unheard of in '72.
It was so nice because our junior year, I didn't play it down, and yet I had these grueling 3-hour workouts daily. And they were just vague, Coaches would say, well, we're going to do that, well, we're going to do that. When we started two-a-days our senior year, they'd post a little schedule. And sometimes it was 45 minutes long.
I thought it was good because everybody stayed fresh. I mean, when you got on the field, you was hungry for something. You come off and you watch the guys out there giving it their all and just doing good time after time. You get on there, then you want your time to shine. And that's what I liked about it.
So you take a bunch of guys that, were used to going home when it was dark and you're beat, and you start letting them out after an hour. Time it gets to be game day, we were pretty hungry. We had a lot of energy and we were ready to go.
His theory was we were going to be working out the same amount of time we'd always worked out. Where you have a 3.5 hour workout in the middle of the Texas heat, working both sides of the ball. We were going to work 1 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours and 15 minutes on one side of the ball. So you probably really were working on your skill.
He made it fun, he made it enjoyable. And I think the guys will tell you, Jim Bragg, Ball Rice, Randy Mays, Randy Cade, all those guys, we enjoyed it.
Not only did we have more fun and better breaks, I remember one break that Coach Shipman got my dad to bring an ice cream truck to the workout. And it was pretty hot, and it was two-a-days, and Coach Shipman got us together and it looked like we was going to have to run the mile, and turned around and we just had to run up the hill to the ice cream truck. So he did a lot of treats that way.
Also break the ice, we would have a dancing contest, and it was kind of a funny story. I was a defensive tackle my junior year, and again, we did not win very many games. We always, back in those days, we'd have on Friday nights after home games, we would have a dance in the cafeteria. And so I'm up there with all the other guys, and we got our girlfriends, etc. And so we're dancing. And this is 1970, so we had some good music. So what happens is the next year during that off season, Coach Shipman says, I think we're going to move you to linebacker. And I said, linebacker? I've never thought about playing linebacker. And he said, well, I saw you dance. And so I think that you've got some moves and you've got some agility, so we're going to move you to linebacker.
It worked out just fine, because, playing 14 games that particular season in '72, a lot of guys would be too tired, I knew I was.
Every morning at the mine, you could see him arrive. He stood 6'6" and weighed 245, kind of broad at the shoulder and narrow at the hip. And everybody knew you didn't give no lip to Big John.
Coach Shipman was an English teacher. Coach Shipman loved to tell a story.
He was very literate and kind of understood the power of myth.
Our farmer in Lewisville didn't have an identity. We were just kind of here. And after the dismal year of 1971, Bill Shipman thought that we needed to have an identity.
Part of the heritage of that team and the tradition, every Thursday he talked to us about how Big John, our mascot, was going to roll into Bonham or McKinney or whoever we were playing, Gainesville, and tell us how Big John was going to take over.
I think that he'd been working on it for a while, and he You know, before our first game with Boswell that year, he brought us together on Thursday after the run through and told us that he'd had a dream, and that he told us what his dream was about. And he told us the first Big John story.
The Fighting Big John was taking on Bully Boswell. If we were playing Boswell, he'd come up with a name for them, and he would tell the story about how Bully Boswell was coming and pillaging the farmers and stealing their crops, and he came up with a story about Big John winning in the end.
The farmers are going to take the leopards on, and the leopards were Gainesville. The farmers are going to take McKinney on, they were the Lions. The farmers are going to take Plano on, they were the Wildcats, I believe. And it just kept rolling. And all of a sudden, this Big John became a fighting farmer spirit. And I understand they run around, you know, there's a Big John, a body now that runs around the field. But yeah, Coach Shipman and our group started that. So sure, for a kid, that was awesome.
I'll say this, early we probably thought that was kind of hokey.
You know, it was kind of corny week 1, and week 2 it got to be better.
Then week 3, by week 4, we were waiting for the next Big John story, and he did that for the whole season.
And by week 14, it was the thing that we look forward to, other than kickoff probably, the biggest thing of the week.
You know, and that's how Big John was born.
Yeah, there was that song that was out called Big John.
Big John, Big John, Big Bad John.
And man, that was just us in a nutshell. I mean, when we heard that song, we just went crazy. I'm talking about we went crazy. Yeah.
We had the Big John bus, maroon bus back then that we went to the games on. We had Big John stories, the whole 9 yards. It really took a life of its own.
You're just so lucky to have been anywhere close to something like that. Somebody has come up with an archetype or a legend, a story that infects other people's attitudes and their civic spirit and their school spirit, and it just really plays into those good feelings that come up. It's a very rare occurrence, I think, and to be associated with that in any small part is just really special.
We went into the season, I guess, from my point of view, just kind of not really knowing what it was going to be like.
Our first game of the season was kind of a unique kind of situation. We went to Boswell over in Fort Worth, North Fort Worth, and the officials did not show up for the game. There was some miscommunication and everything.
It's delayed by about an hour and a half with lightning. We win that game pretty close. That was my first start as a quarterback.
We had not beaten Boswell. The year before, they had just destroyed us. With all the circumstances of the delayed game and all that, we won the game. You win the first one. Okay, now you win the second one. Then you win the third one. Then you start like, hey, nobody's beating us. And, you know, so it just kind of perpetuates itself. You get the proverbial, you know, momentum moves in.
We looked pretty good, but it really didn't gel till like the third or fourth game.
And we played a fairly tough team our first non-district game, and we beat them, and it was like, wow. And then we kept winning, and so it just kept getting more and more exciting. When
we won that third game, then all of a sudden we won that fourth game.
We were starting winning 38-0, 42-7, you know, stuff like that.
And then we won the fifth game, and we were on a roll. They kept calling us Cinderella. I don't know why, because I thought we always won.
About halfway through the season, where they started calling us the Cinderella team, we weren't picked to do anything.
It had been a few years since Lewisville had been very deep in the playoffs, So it just kind of snowballed.
I thought we had the baddest defense, or one of the baddest defenses. No, I take that back. I thought we had the baddest defense in high school, in 3A, okay? And our offense was untouchable. We never been stopped inside the 10-yard line. Once we got inside the 10, we had 6 points.
We were the original Friday Night Lights. Our town rolled up the sidewalks and put signs on the door, "Gone to football." And it was just a really close community, and we were a close class.
It was a blast. It was a blast, starting at pep rallies Friday afternoons, loading the bus and getting going. And the whole town came. They always joked that they rolled up the sidewalks at 6 o'clock on Friday night because the whole town went. It was like criminals needed to hit Lewisville on Friday night because nobody was around to cause trouble.
And Friday nights, everybody was at the game.
We went from having the stands half full to filling the stands up until making it to where we had to build a whole nother stadium.
The city of Lewisville got behind us, and I never seen anything since then like that.
It was just incredible to see our community come together. We hadn't been in the playoffs in 17 years, maybe 15 years, somewhere in there. And for the first time, they roll back and they have a huge excitement within the city and within the community. And we felt like we were somebody. They treated us really well, and we're excited about the way we played.
There was just an enthusiasm throughout the town. We were obviously elevated to special status by being part of that football team, the great football team. So, I was very proud and honored to be part of it, and people made me feel even better about it.
Yeah, it was wonderful. The whole town has to be behind you. The band, the town people, the whole school has to be behind you. It's hard to win a championship.
I had gotten a ticket for and I think it was an expired inspection sticker. And the town secretary called me, and they threw the ticket up and threw it in the trash.
You could go up to the store, to the gas station, and these adult grown people would say, is it anything you need, anything you want? Are y'all gonna win the game? This kind of thing. That kind of added a little pressure, but the whole town was excited as well, so it was all fun.
It was exciting for people. People would say stuff, get phone calls.
It was really good to be a Fighting Farmer that year.
It was like nothing I'd never seen before. I mean, even when we were winning, when we were coming up, we had a lot of people at our football games, but this right here was something different.
It was just a thrilling year and fun to win after that junior year where we were just abused and all we did was I was a cheerleader, with 3-hour workouts all week.
I didn't think about it that much in the game, winning or losing, because maybe I just had the thought that we were going to win, or we'd try to win anyway.
I don't know if we really knew what we were experiencing. And then when it got to be week 7, week 8, we realized we might have a chance to keep playing after the regular season.
Even the NFL does this. You take one game at a time. And we just wanted to get to McKinney, which, sure enough, we had to beat them at the end, the last game for district. So we were playing for that.
Well, that McKinney game was special, and you could tell the way the city opened up, and yeah, we could beat this team. We got a shot at the playoffs,
To me, it was the biggest game of our season, even in the playoffs. We had gotten beat by Gainesville the week before.
We seniors, we had to go into the McKinney game thinking that was our last ball game, just to leave it all out there. And I remember going out to practice on Monday of the McKinney game, and Rex White had the band lined up like they do for a pep rally or for the start of a football game. This was a Monday practice. That's what I remember about Lewisville in 1972, is just that.
Coach Shipman told us Can I read this?
Yeah.
Here's the situation as our district now stands. Everyone except us has 2 more games to play. We have only one, McKinney. If we beat McKinney, we have a cinch tie for district championship, 3-way tie. If Grand Prairie should beat Gainesville Friday night, we would be outright champions. South Grand Prairie has a better chance than ever since Gainesville lost their quarterback. We were down 14 points going into the 4th quarter. A lot of the McKinney's crowd left.
It was 4th down and 9 or 11. We called this play.
Joe, it was called in the 49 reverse pass, and Joe looked up and said, "It can't be that." Then he said 49 reverse, and I looked up at the clock, and it was like 7 seconds left, and then Joe looked up at it, and he said, "Just break." And when he snapped the ball, the time ran out, and he scored on a broken play himself, and then we had a delay of game because the fans ran on the field, and Randy kicked the extra point. We won the game by 1 point. We scored 7 points with 0 on the clock, and then we were celebrating. The whole town was celebrating, and the announcer on the intercom was trying to get our attention, and they said that Gainesville had just been beaten by South Grand Prairie, and that we was going into the playoffs.
We didn't know what was going to happen, but we all believed it could happen. We all wanted it to happen so badly.
As I remember, all my buddies, you know, every time we got together in the summer, we were like, we're going to state. It was just something we said.
I mean, the whole school was excited, you know, so including the band, drill teams.
That was the 360 of emotions. Well, of course, we were very excited. We rode down on just regular school buses, the drill team and cheerleaders and band did. I think the guys got a charter.
You know, when you get to travel like that as a group, you know, you have a tendency to start working together, you know. So, you know, going to class, doing our homework, you know, just like a normal day, bottom line. It's just like a normal week, you know, and very exciting.
And of course, there was all the excitement before the game, and we were so excited to perform, you know, at the University of Texas football field.
The whole experience was a blast. Chartered buses went down, stayed in hotels. It was all good until the end of the game. It was all good.
The cheerleaders and the drill team and the band was going to do something special for us. So we were down in Austin, we were playing Uvalde Cows, and of course we had all these pamphlets and stuff, and we're studying our opponent person by person and position by position. But so when they said, you hear our fight song, we're to run out there. We were just in our shorts, and some had shoulder pads, some didn't. And it was cold, and we heard the fight song. So we weren't ready, so we all just kind of run out there. And nobody was there. And it was Uvalde playing the fight song. Well, Uvalde was maroon and white, we were maroon and white. They had our fight song, same as our fight song, and their school song was the same as our school song. So it was really a lot of maroon that night in the championship.
We knew that we weren't indestructible or unbeatable or unstoppable, but we knew that we pretty much held our own fate in our own hands. We were going to get out there and play as hard as we could and do the very best that we could.
From a technical standpoint, I think offensively we knew we could move the football, and we knew with the leadership we had on defense, we didn't feel like we'd get pushed around. Now, we knew Uvalde was very good because they'd been there the year before.
We were ready. We were prepared. Our coaches had us prepared.
People went, oh, Coach, we're going to beat those guys. I'm going, now they're pretty good too. They've got some good players and all that.
I thought the whole time we were going to win. I know that a lot of the defensive guys, with their defensive scheme, instead of going in there and playing their regular defense, the coaches were worried about trick plays.
We were real leery of Uvalde because they had pulled some trick play on Brenham and won the game on a trick play, and we were kind of anticipating a lot of chicanery.
There was probably different periods of time in the game because it was a big deal being at UT Stadium. that we probably should have grasped the moment a little bit more.
The first half is, they come out on us and put 14, 21 points on us in the first half, so we, within halftime, we regrouped, got ourselves back together, and that's when the competition came in. We knew that, we could get after these guys. If we play our type of game, we can get after these guys.
They wish they'd have just let them play defense instead of looking out for the trick play.
I know the defense didn't feel like they played that well in the first half, and they played great in the second half.
Did they even score the second half, Randy? Uvalde? Yeah, so they got all the scores the first half, and we got all ours the second. Should have had one more.
I know we're always going to live with the fact we should have scored from the 2-yard line.
I always thought we were going to win it all. So, we had the ball last. First and goal.
We came, like I said, within a couple of yards, got down there on the goal line, and Rudy and Randy Mays are pulling through on a little pitch play out to the left, and they both run into the end zone, untouched. There's nobody to block out there except, they're already in the end zone. And the linebacker on the far side of Uvalde's defense comes clear across the defense and tackles Paul Rice on about the 2-yard line. That's how close it was.
It was in the fourth quarter with seconds left on the clock. We had 3 chances to move that ball 3 yards. Is that right, boys? Was it about 3 yards? And we didn't get it in. We were that close to that, winning that game.
It was fourth and about a foot, and we were stopped.
We all feel like we probably should have won that game. We had first and goal, and from the 1-yard line, it didn't get in. We handed the ball off 4 times in a row to Paul Rice, and they keyed on Paul every time, and like I say, we didn't even get in.
We didn't make that touchdown, and oh my gosh, I was devastated. I lived and died by each play, and it was so hard to see them lose that game.
And it was disappointing, but we had a good season.
Uvalde's deserved it. They won, but we should have won.
I have my theories, but we should have won the game. There was no excuse for us not to win that game.
We could have won that game as easy as we lost.
We were prepared for the game, and we played hard, but it's just we couldn't get that 1 yard at the end.
We have a great line in our senior yearbook, and it says, "An athlete never loses, he just runs out of time." And I think that really summed up our season.
Time just ran out on those kids. If they'd have been able to play a little bit longer, because the longer we played, the better we got, And I really think 2, 3, 4, 5 more minutes, would have won that game.
I never felt like any of us didn't put or leave everything that we had out on the field.
The people in the stands and everybody was just there for you, and all the crying was just incredible. Like, what's going on? You think it was just a football game, then you realize it's the championship game, and you felt like you let everybody down.
And then it was so heartbreaking at the end. Everyone was devastated. So we went from that extreme high in excitement to that, thrill of victory to the agony of defeat.
It was a little bit of a shock, but I can remember on the way home, me and Steve Coker, we were waiting for, Coach Shipman was on the back seat. He was dozing, and he wore glasses. And we had decided we were going to put toothpaste on his glasses as soon as he went to sleep. And we kept checking back there, and finally he was out. And I don't remember which one of us had the toothpaste, but we got about halfway there, and his famous Shipman, his eye opens up. And so yeah, we were ready to have some humor by the time we were headed home because we'd been successful.
We were a big family, and it was hurtful to lose that game. We cried like babies, and then we still think about it and talk about it and swear about it. But it was, we were just one big happy family.
It didn't happen the way we wanted it to, but we sure had a lot of fun anyway.
Well, of course we were disappointed, but I think we were all very happy and very proud. We were the first championship team in decades, I guess.
Dad was a little bit of a psychologist, and I think he did just a really good job of molding us into family, into a group that hung together and that was willing to give everything for the guy playing beside you.
Every time the group gets together, it's a topic of conversation, yes. And it's like it was yesterday. Nobody forgets a detail.
It was a special group. We grew up from junior high playing football together. There was such a bond between us that lasts still today. And I think that's what was the key to our success, that it was the bond that we had between each other. And it's still here, as you can see.
I think the most important thing we all got out of it was friendships. I mean, I got to play 14 games next to my very best friend. I mean, my very best friend today. And there's different groups of us, 4 to 6 to 8 of us that have their group of guys they still hang with.
A lot of kiddos don't experience winning. They don't experience, they've never won. So we were fortunate.
It's an odd mixture of pain and then wanting also to go back to that time, to re-experience that time, to remember that time, and to keep it part of you always.
It was awesome to be part of the group that cranked up winning. That's the deal. You can't get there if you don't win. So that was fun.
I think that year started something, and helped put Lewisville back on the map as a football town.
Football's a game, and games are supposed to be played for fun, and he created a fun environment and a fun atmosphere. Very structured, but let us be ourselves and allowed us to have a ton of fun every day that we were involved in that program. Those guys did a lot for us and showed us there's another way of playing this game, and the way it can be coached and the way it can be played.
It was awesome. Like I say, I still have, my best friends that I still have were in that time period. I mean, there's 4 or 5 of us that we get together all the time, still, once a month or so, have lunch, whatever, visit. We've had quite a few reunions. It's, we still are in contact with some of the coaches that coached us back then, and it was just a kind of just a unique thing. I mean, we just hit on all cylinders, and we had, it was our class and class behind us, and we were all good friends with them, great friends with us, and we worked out in the summertime, all summer long, together. It was just, we just became a team, no individuals, or just a team.
I just want to, I hardly ever say this to them, but I just want to thank Coach V and his wife for doing and being the people that they were for me. It was like a home away from home when it came to them. They treated me with a lot of kindness, a lot of love, and a lot of respect. And he talked to me and told me some things that made me, that kind of helped boosted my self-esteem and made me realize that I was a bigger person than who I really thought I was, and that my heart was very large. And I just want to say I thank him and I love him for that.
Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing through the jasmine in my mind.